That would probably work better. It's wonderful to have this time together to reconnect in spirit. Let's take some deep breaths before we start. I want to hear an audible sigh this time. Inhale. Exhale. Please join me in prayer. We meld our hearts and minds in this moment. We realize our fortune to be included in a community of like-minded individuals. We are thankful for each perfect child of God present today, all unique, all special in God's eyes. And we honor each person's spiritual path as we travel together on an awakened journey to become our highest, best selves. Let us express gratitude for the gifts we bring to the world. We choose to focus on all that is good and right and true in the world. We intuitively sense that when our attention is on those positive trains of thought, we draw to us all the wonderful experiences that the universe can dish up. We open our hearts to receive the words that we hear today.
Thank you for that beautiful prayer, Anita, and thank you for that beautiful music. Good morning. Welcome home to Unity in Greensboro. If you are watching live on our website, please use the chat box to the left of the screen to make a comment or ask a question. If you're watching a replay on YouTube or Facebook, now is a great time to invite your loved ones to check us out. Liking, sharing, and subscribing are ways you can help us grow this loving community. And now we'll have our call to worship song with Anita.
Yes, you are. You know about best laid plans. You've heard the words best laid plans? Well, they've changed. Grab a microphone. We're having some technical difficulties, so we have changed up the song. And I want everybody to get up and enjoy this song because I know you know it, and I want to hear everybody singing it. Love is but a song we sing, this way we die. You can make the mountains read, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
Do I get to sing the second verse? Some will come and some will go, but this will surely pass. Don't hold on to grief and pain, 'cause it's all in your past. I love you, baby. Understand that peace and love is what truly lasts. That's right. Here we go. Come on, baby. Let's go.
Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
Sing it again.
Love is but a song we sing. Sing with me. Here's the way we die.
That's right.
You
Come
can
on,
make
y'all know
mountains
this song.
ring.
Clap your hands and come on. Come on, bring it up.
You can make the mountains read, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, and you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, try to love one another.
Thank you. That was awesome. Love you too, Elaine. All right. Thank you. So if you will please join me in reading our affirmations. They'll be on the screen. Not today. They are in your program. October affirmations. I am enthusiastic about the life I get to live. It's mine to create. I have asked for good in my life, and now I accept it. It's all about the dreams we've been creating all year. And now affirm me in reading our vision, mission, and core values. They're also in your bulletin. We envision a spiritually awakened world where all people live in joyful gratitude. In our mission, Unity in Greensboro is a beacon of light for those seeking a positive path for spiritual living through prayer and meditation, education, celebration, and service. In our core values are spiritual growth, generosity, inclusivity, authenticity, wholeness, and unity. And now our prayer chaplain will come up.
I am the prayer chaplain today. No matter what you're growing through, I would be honored to pray with you. To be included on the prayer list or to ask for private prayer, you can contact us by filling out a prayer request form, putting it in this box. That's before the service, always back there on that table. Or through the UIG website at prayer request at the top of the page, or in the weekly newsletter prayer request link. You can click on it and do your prayer there. Or you can email prayersfromuig@gmail.com. We're going to pray for the requests in the prayer box and the names on our prayer list, as well as any loved ones you can think of now. Be thinking of who you'd like to pray for. And then Rev Pat will guide us in a meditation so that we can make a connection with Spirit. So here are the people on the list. First of all, Chandrika Malone, Sharon Medley, Miranda Baker, Janine Del Cambray, Kevin Coburg, Reverend David and Susan Torres, Carolyn Tribble, Sona Isharoni, Sebastian Ververde, Pat Hauser, Larry Fields, F.R. Randolph, E.P. Randolph. Let us affirm that these loved ones are whole, perfect, and complete. We are standing with them knowing that God is already actively working in partnership with each person to grow through the appearance of challenges. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Continuing in that holding of the space for these dear ones. And take a deep breath in, release. And breathing into this sacred time of centering and knowing our true selves, our divinity. We tap into the power of divinity, of spirit, opening our hearts and letting that love that we are flow to those whose names have been called and to all those who are in our minds and our hearts right now. We see them whole as they truly are, even as they're going through challenges, emotional or physical. or spiritual. And know that we too are whole, just as we are. And so we unite with each other and with all those who are holding the vigil to see each person recovering, coming out of their darkness and into the light. And today, as we are gathered here, we hold the entire body of unity in Greensboro in our love and see this community thriving and see this community blessing each person who comes and joins us. Now take a moment where we'll go into silence, knowing our hearts are open, our love is the divine love of God, healing, replenishing, nourishing, sustaining us in the silence. And in this sacred silence, be sure that you remember that you are whole, just as you are. And you are fully divine while being fully human. And you are loved. Allow that love to heal you right now in this moment. Allow that love of God, which is your very essence, to give you the hug, the comfort, the assurance that you need right now in this place in your life. And affirm, all is well. And I move through this life with ease and grace, knowing I am sustained. And for this knowledge, I am so grateful. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you for that beautiful meditation, Reverend Pat. And now for the announcements. We have our Oneness Blessing meditation this coming Wednesday at 6:15 on Zoom only. On Saturday, October 16th, we'll be hosting a workshop called LGBTQIA and Why Letters and Pronouns Matter. This will be at 11 a.m. and led by Guilford Green. We will be in person and online. So to make sure you have space for everyone to social distance, we need you to fill out the RSVP sheet that is in the back of the room, and the ushers have it. And please take some flyers to give out to the community. We'll also be having our trunk or treat on Saturday, October 30th, and that's from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Please RSVP at unityingreensboro.org/Halloween, and that's to make sure that we have enough space for the cars. We need one more person to form a committee of 3 to organize the holiday fair, slated to happen December 4th. All of these events are our chance to introduce ourselves to new people in the community. After service, we need your help packing up and putting everything back and taking things upstairs, so we hope that you'll stay around. You can see me afterward, or you can see one of the ushers. And before we have more special music by Elaine, Penn, and our special musicians, Dave Fox and Neil Clegg, I want to take the time to introduce Reverend Pat Veenema. Reverend Pat Veenema is really one of our own. She has been a welcome speaker and instructor at Unity in Greensboro for over a decade. She is adjunct faculty of Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute, Unity's online platform for spiritual explorers, where she teaches metaphysics, evolutionary, spirituality, and history of Christianity. She offers Unity classes and others like the spiritual wisdom of the Enneagram and spiritual spiral dynamics online through her online teaching ministry, New Vista Learning Center. I've had the pleasure of taking some of her classes. She is currently writing a book, Spiral in the Bible, an overview of the Hebrew scriptures through an evolutionary lens. Ooh, I look forward to reading that. And now we'll have our special music, and Reverend Pat will bring our lesson.
I was going to say a few things. You know, and most people, I get on their nerves because I talk so much. I apologize. I won't talk very long. I promise. Neil couldn't show up today, and you didn't know that. This is Drew Hayes, okay, and this is Dave Fox, and they're two of the best musicians probably in the country, jazz musicians. So really, seriously. So once a month, we're going to have Dave with us, and sometimes he'll bring Neil, and sometimes Drew, and sometimes my dad and my family will come. And I'm so excited about that we've been allowed back into the church. So thank you so much. And it won't always be jazz. We didn't have time this week to prepare. So I said, let's just do jazz, because that's the easiest for us, because that's what we do together, right? Sometimes we'll do pop, like Carole King, or John Denver. And sometimes we'll do gospel and spiritual music. And sometimes we'll just do Unity music, really, really hardcore Unity music. I have an old repertoire of Unity music. So I'm so honored to play with these guys today. I'm also honored to work with you. Reverend Pat Veenema is one of the top ministers in the country. And most people don't know what you got. Nobody knows what you got till you got it, and then you ain't got it no more. Then they know, oh gosh, I wish I had that. She really is, and you guys are, and we're building. So what I want to challenge everybody to do is each week reach out to 5 of your friends and ask 5 people to come back to church. That's it. I'm going to reach out to those 90 people that were on that Monday night list. Nobody even knew we were playing today, okay? I didn't tell anybody. So I'm going to reach out to those 90 people, and then I want you guys to reach out to just 5 of your friends. Try to get to come. This is beautiful. Does this not feel good? I mean, what amazing meditation and prayers, and you. I mean, who are you? You turned into this crazy great leader. I mean, I don't even remember it. So, I mean, let's do it. We can rebuild this church. All we have to do is each person bring 5 people. I used to do it with my volleyball team. That's why I know it. My volleyball team, when I was coaching in college, they were all responsible for bringing 10 people to church. I mean, to the school, to play, to the volleyball game. And they got in trouble if they didn't do it. And we had 100 people showing up at every game. It was fantastic. Anyway, enough of me. I will shut up. I know I can get on your nerves. Okay, we're going to, today, because it was easiest for us and we didn't have time to rehearse, we're going to honor my parents. My parents met when they were 12 and 14. My mother was a singer, and my father was a saxophone player in the Russ Carlton Big Band in Danville, Virginia. They became friends right away, and then they fell in love. They got married. They had 4 children, and we always had a family band. And I learned to love music from the 30s and 40s because of my parents. And it's like the Great American Songbook, right? So we're going to just sing some songs about that, about honoring my parents. And it's about the spiral, too. When you hear this lady talk about the spiral, it's going to blow your mind. So, I mean, I've taken a couple of courses with you. I don't even know understand what you're talking about. But the spiral, I mean, when you get towards the top, I imagine we're towards love, and we're towards a place of collaboration, connection, and love. So, and I can't wait to hear you, and I honor you so much. So this is a song, Nat King Cole and his daughter, Natalie Cole, and it's Love. So sing along if you want, okay? Here we go. Now L is for the way you look at me, and O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore. Now love is all that I can give to you, and love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart, but please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. Go on, boys. Come on, take it away. Here we go. Keep on rolling. You sound great. Keep playing. You go for it, Drew. Y'all sing with me. Come on, sing. Here we go. Now L is for the way you look. You're looking at me. And O is for the only one, the one I see. V is so very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore. Now love is all that I can give to you, and love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart, but please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. Let's do it two more times, guys. Oh, now love was made for me and you. One more time. Oh, now love was made for me and you. Thank you, Drew, and thank you, Dave. Love you.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to be back with you. Hi. Good to see you all. Wow, I've got a fan club here. It's really great. I don't speak very often anymore. As you can tell from the bio, I'm teaching a lot, and that is my passion. So it's made me a very happy minister. I did a series of talks this summer with Unity of Dayton remotely, and my colleague there at Unity of Dayton asked me to speak about spiral dynamics because it's my passion. It's what I just the way I see the world. So I thought I'd share one of those talks with you, and I realized in the introduction to me it says, continuing our contemplation of the evolution of consciousness. I thought, I should have changed that. We weren't continuing it. I haven't been here for a while. But I taught it to you folks, if you were here in 2011, when I was an intern under Catherine, I taught you spiral dynamics, and that's 10 years ago, and I've been just learning it more and more and more. And so, but it's very heady, and it's very academic, and how do you do something about the spiral in 20 minutes on a Sunday morning? Obviously, I've got to cut out all of the structure of the model and just give you a little bit of the wisdom that I've learned, and that's really the practical side of it all. Especially during this past 20 months of COVID and chaos and craziness going on in the world, so much more than just COVID, although that was enough, wasn't it? You know, to think about the Black Lives Matter and the very disappointing problems that we're having with politics and loggerheads and opinions and nobody listening to anybody. And through the spiral, I get it, because that's exactly what spiral dynamics tells us happens when we go through a shift. There's all kinds of chaos. There's all kinds of people running around not listening, but worried, full of fear, and no one is slowing down enough to see the vision of how we can move further in it. So let me just say, the spiral dynamics model is a study of how human beings mature, both personally with our human development and collectively with our collective evolution of the culture. And so spiral dynamics looks at our very beginnings of our ancestors, thousands and thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, all the way to the present, and watches the trends in what are the shifts of our value system. That's what it's based on, the value system. And the biggest problem people have with spiral dynamics is that it seems hierarchical and judgmental. So I'm going to address that today. And that's an awkward piece, so I'm being brave. Yeah, especially when we are in a place of wanting to tolerate and be inclusive of everyone, no matter where they are in their worldview. The spiral says, but we are different. And we need, if we can see a structure of our differences, then we might be able to bridge some gaps. And so the spiral also says, even though we might talk about it, we're moving up in the spiral, it doesn't mean that higher is better than a lower level. Although it sounds like it, higher and lower sounds judgmental, doesn't it? We could turn the spiral on its side and just say it's a movement of cycles that moves from this place to this place. So instead of up and down, would it be better to go sideways? We can turn the poster sideways if you'd like. So what it is it's kind of this idea of how big is your worldview when you're a little child? And I've got 3 grandchildren, 2, 4, and 6. And I see the developmental differences, as you have seen in children yourselves. You know, the 2-year-old is focused on mama and daddy, and she'll come away from that for a while, and then when she gets back to mom and dad, she just sinks into their arms like she's home, you know? And her world is that small. It's the nuclear family and maybe a couple grandmas and grandpas. And then they step into 4. There's different than 2, isn't it? And so now they're looking at their preschool friends, and they're starting to say, I can do this. You want to watch me? You know, so they're doing that kind of movement and playing and pretending, and lots of pretending. And that's a magical stage. And then the 6-year-old is in another place where he started first grade, and he likes to line up and please authority figures and predictability, and he likes that to be all set up. And so even in 3 little kids, you can see that there's developmental differences. Well, that doesn't stop at 6. You know, if you have a 6-year-old and you're a parent and you have a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old, you're going to see really big differences in those kids. Would you say that the 12-year-old is better because he has a bigger worldview? No. You'd say he's right where he should be. And so is the 6-year-old. All right? And so, and you can't you can't force them to change and to develop any faster. In fact, they'll develop fast enough for most parents feel that longing of just slow down. I want to enjoy you. Or then when they're 3, you would say, quick, hurry up, get out of this stage. So looking at spiral dynamics and the way we have seen that people develop, adults too, there's stages of adult development. So early adult would be that kind of like the 6-year-old is conforming. I'm going to find my place in society, and I'm going to fit that role, and I'm going to do well, and I'm going to follow the footsteps of my parents, and I'm going to conform to however, and I'm going to make it in society. And then you get to another stage where adults will say, I want to try something new. I want to see if I can do this, like get a graduate degree or start a new business or go to a different town and make a whole new world for yourself. So that's an independent streak instead of conformity. You're moving into independent work on your own. And then you'll have more stages where you're not so independent. You might swing back to community and say, now that I've made it in society, I want to give back. I want to help. I want to see where people are in need and work with that. So you're embracing community again. The spiral talks about how we vacillate from individual to collective. But the thing I want to get to is, boy, so many times people say to me, this is all about judging. You're judging the people the level that you left. You're judging that. It's wrong. And sure enough, very often if you jump into a new stage in the spiral, you're going to reject what's behind you because you think it's inefficient, it's not fair, it's not just. You know, a lot of us, I'll speak for myself, a baby boomer, high school in the 70s was my experience, and so all of this, come on people now, smile on your brother, you know, that was our song, that was the kind of songs we sang, and it was pretty much a rejection of the hierarchical structure that we had grown up in, and we were saying, no, everybody's equal. You know, it's that big swing into, come on, let's all love each other, and it's a hierarchical rejection of what's behind us. Spiral Dynamics Wisdom says, when you get to a certain point, you stop rejecting all the levels behind you. You start seeing the value of all those levels, that you had to grow through them in order to get where you are today. And those who are still in that mindset have valuable values for you to embrace with them. So I have a great story that Emily Cady taught us. Over 100 years ago, she wrote these articles for the Unity magazine that are compiled into the book Lessons in Truth, which is my favorite Unity textbook. And it was actually the textbook of Unity teachings for decades. So in one of her chapters, she calls Unity of the Spirit. And she talks about this great little metaphor. And so I'm thinking about a wall, like something like this behind me here, where let's say there's a big construction site going on in the city, and they might put the chain link fence all around, but then they'll put something like this so nobody can see what's going on the other side. And don't you want to just make a hole and look and see what's going on? I mean, it's I grew up just outside of New York City, and I saw that all the time when my parents brought me to the city. We'd see these big fence, and everybody wanted to see what was going on inside. So imagine that. But of course, Emily Cady is a country doctor in upstate New York in 1900. So she's not going to talk about a city wall. She's going to talk about what's on the other side, and it's a pastoral experience. And she says, suppose that a dozen persons are standing on the dark side of a wall in which there are various sized openings. Viewing the scene outside, through the opening assigned to him, one sees all there is within a certain radius. So if the hole's this big or this big, it's going to matter. It's going to make a difference as to what you can see, the aperture of the hole, right? And she goes on. This man says, I see the whole world, and in it are trees and fields. And another, through a larger opening, has a more extended view. And he says, I see trees and fields and houses. I see the whole world. And the next one, looking through a still larger opening, exclaims, oh, you're all wrong. I alone see the whole world. I see trees and fields and houses and rivers and animals. The fact is, she writes, each one looking at the same world, sees according to the size of the aperture through which he is looking. And he limits the world to just his own circumscribed view of it. You would say at once that such limitation was only a mark of each man's ignorance and narrowness. Everyone would pity the man who thus displayed, I fairly vaunted, his ignorance. Don't you love that old language? And then she goes on to talk about the schisms in the church and how every denomination seems to say, I've got it, I've got the answer, you know? But we can go beyond denominations, and we can go to politics, and we can go to generations, and we can go to racial differences or economic differences, and each faction says, this is how the world is. I see the world, you know? Because that's their view, that's their little hole that they're seeing the world through, or a big hole that they're seeing the world through. And she says, I want to break down the dividing walls. I want you to see, and she says it so passionately, if you do not already, that every time you try to limit God's manifestation of himself in any person or through any person in order to make that manifestation conform to what you see as truth, you're only crying loudly, ho, everyone, come and view my narrowness and my ignorance. And so the thing that I get at with her beautiful, inclusive, second-tier way of seeing things, a second tier in the spiral is that place where you get past ego driving everything you do, and you actually are learning to master ego. Ego is fear and greed and power, correct? And that's all of the levels in the first tier of the spiral. It's about trying to stay alive, trying to have your power, and to have your space in the world so that you don't have to be afraid. So fear is the common thing, acquiring things, doing things, acquiring recognition and degrees and money and people around you, and all of that stuff is first tier ego stuff, which we all do, and it's not unhealthy because it's the developmental stage that we're at. But when we get to a place where we say, you know, what else is there? What else is there? Then we go within and start to explore this inner world that we've ignored during our ego development, and we start seeing the richness of the simplicity of existence. And that's second tier. It's the being stage. Second tier is a wide open world that we're just learning to discover. And we've been told that the COVID pandemic has been a gateway for people to awaken, to realize that there's more to life than that having and doing. Yeah. I mean, we all sat at home for a long, long time. Some of us alone in our homes. Some alone in a city full of people and no communication, personal communication. And we came to a place collectively across the globe of realizing there's more to life than doing and having. That's the step into awakening. It's not enlightenment. I'm not there. But I certainly know I'm practicing a second tier worldview when I try to not judge all the people and wherever stage they're at. And I'm trying to not identify or be attached to the doing and the having. So I'm trying to attach to the being, just being. It's so easy for us to try to convince other people that they're wrong because they're not at the same worldview that we are. And I'll go back to my teenage years and all that, come on people, love one another thing. I rejected my parents' traditional way. I said, that's wrong, instead of that's different. Now I'm learning to say, whoever is wherever they're at, it's not wrong, it's different. It's like one person might have a tiny little hole to see the world through, and another person might have a really big aperture to see the world through. If you have a big worldview, you're going to have a more inclusive worldview. You're going to have a more tolerant worldview. But if you have a tiny worldview, you're just going to be able to see the little bits of it and not be able to be as tolerant. So when we have a community like this, we're going to have diversity. Guaranteed. Guaranteed, even if we're so like-minded, we're boring that we're so similar, we're still going to have diversity. And I'll give you a very good example. Wearing masks and getting vaccinated. Do we have diversity in this audience from that? Or in this congregation for those who aren't here? Of course we do. My home base is Chapel Hill, the Unity Center of Peace. We had serious conversations about it because board members, staff didn't want to get vaccinated for whatever their reasons were, mostly distrust of the medical chemicals that are being put in, and did they take long enough, and my child was injured by this vaccination as a child, and all the reasons. And boy, the others of us, myself included, jumped to judgment. Like, I got vaccinated as soon as I could. I had no question about doubting the system. That's just me. So, of course, I judged those who didn't want to get vaccinated. Jumped to judgment. I jumped to judgment. And our minister, Victoria Loveland Cohen, said, I have to understand this because it's my office manager who doesn't want to get vaccinated. It's my board president who doesn't want to get vaccinated. I need to understand this. And she invited us to a very difficult but conscious conversation about it so that those who wanted to speak and those who wanted to listen came together, and we heard what the logic was for those who are different than us, which helped us understand their worldview and brought a diverse group of people into harmony because they heard each other. It's a really practical use of doing this work of stepping into awakening. Your responsibility as you get to the point of maturity, spiritual maturity, of awakening, your responsibility is, let me see your world through your little hole in the wall, or big hole in the wall. Help me see the world through your hole in the wall. And when you stop and listen, and when you choose not to interrupt, and you choose to keep your ears wide open, you can start to see how their world looks through their little hole in the wall. And there is a bridge of love. There's the bridge of love. As Elaine guessed, the higher the spiral, the more expansive you are toward love. Like our common goal in our evolution is to move into unity, into
being one, of realizing we're all one and we're all connected in this web of life. That's love. The web of life is love that's holding us together. So to try to convince others is not the way. To try to listen is the way. And as people get tired of their worldview because it's not working for them anymore, they will explore the next logical step in their developmental levels, and maybe they'll be trusting you enough because you had listened to help them through their next step. So awakening is that bridge to seeing all the worldview of your neighbors, and to just stop before you judge the neighbor that you don't even know. Just stop and say, I don't know what their hole in the wall looks like for them. I don't know what their world looks like for them. So I will withdraw my judgment and send them love. What a difference that would be if I send judgment across the way to my neighbor or send love across the way. It'll make a big difference, even if it's not even a physical manifestation that comes out. John 16, verse 12, very simple verse from Jesus. At least that's what the author of John said, Jesus said, is, I still have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. Bear them. Carry them. Hold them. If you are a awakened person, enlightened at the guru level that Jesus was, he had ways of seeing things that his people could not see. Their aperture was very small. Jesus's was really big. He could see beyond our differences and see that we're all beloved of God and that we're all valuable, even the sinner, even the prostitute, as we know Jesus did so often, stepping out of the bounds of society to love the unlovable. And that's exactly what he's saying. I have so much to tell you, but I know you can't absorb it right now because you're at a different developmental level. Would we try to explain complex things to our kindergartners? They can't take it in. So I'm not saying another adult in your neighborhood is like a kindergartner. I'm saying they're at a different worldview than you, just like a kindergartner's at a different worldview than a sixth grader. So if that person has a worldview that is different than you, and you see yourself as awakened or, right? Then that worldview that your neighbor has must be one that you've gone through already, because we go through these. And so can you step into and listen, and as you listen, start to say, oh yeah, I remember thinking that way, and it was valid at the time, so I can respect that person, because it's valid for them right now. And that's the bridge of loving rather than judging, and having that energy as you look at your neighbors. I think that would be your responsibility as woke people, and have those conversations. In the most safe place in Greensboro would be your own spiritual community, I hope. And or if it's not, make it safe. Make some ground rules. We're coming together to listen, to love, not judge. And we're going to talk about tough issues because we can, because we have so much love in our community, we can do this. So I want to invite you to say an affirmation. It's not up there. It's right here. And there's 4 tiny little phrases. I don't know if somebody published it in the thing that handed out. I sent it, but I don't know. But here it is. And I'll just say one phrase, and I ask you to repeat it, okay? I live in faith. I live in faith. I perceive the good. I perceive the good. I trust all is well. I trust all is well. And I expect the best. And I expect the best. I live in faith. I perceive the good in others and you and me, and
I trust all is well, and I expect the best. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Pat. Whenever Reverend Pat comes, I always use 2 or more pages in my book when I'm taking notes. And now's the time for us to give back. And UIG has fast, easy, and secure ways to tithe. One way is to text GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 336-600-1064 and follow the prompts. Going through the donate button is another one on the UIG website or on Facebook. And now is our opportunity. So whether you are texting, clicking the donate button, or giving now in person, let's pray together. And Anita's going to lead us in our offertory blessing.
Let's take a deep breath, center ourselves. We're so grateful for today. Today was so beautiful. May it stay in your memory and take it with you through this week and be back next week. We thank you for every musician who helped today and stepped outside of their comfort zone. We appreciate Pat stepping outside her comfort zone. And we appreciate the internet, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. We appreciate our board and all the people making this happen every Sunday. Thank you for unity in Greensboro. Amen. Here we'll do the divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. Let's close our eyes and pray together. Thank you for everything that comes our way. We appreciate any gift, large or small. It's the energy with which this gift is given that goes forth into our world and helps us spread the words that we want everyone to hear. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you. And now we'll have some special music from Elaine and her special guest.
All right. Oh my gosh, Reverend Pat, you like freak me out. You're so good. I mean, we've got to get people here again, you guys, right? Remember I told you, like, invite 5 people each, like I did my volleyball team, and they got in trouble? You had to run suicides. Like, you know what suicide is? You have to do a sprint if you didn't get 10 people there. All you got to do is invite somebody. Just invite anybody. And I'll start sending out the invitations to the 90 people on my list again. We will get people back here. This is ridiculous. It's such a good church. What's missing is the community aspect where we get to hang out and drink coffee and talk. That's all that's missing. The talking's not missing. The music's not missing. You're all beautiful. Anita's a great singer. You don't need me. I mean, you're all great. So I love you. That was a beautiful, beautiful message. Thank you. Now, I'm 57 and can't remember lyrics anymore, so I'm going to have to find them again. So sorry. I'm going to pull them up. You're just going to have to get over it and sit there and wait for a second while I find them. Cheer, please. Thank you. I'm going to tell you why I'm singing this song as soon as I find it. Normally I print off lyrics, but my printer's broken, so here it is. Here it comes. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so my mother and father adopted my mother's brother when he was 12. He came from an alcoholic family, and they brought him into our family, so he was raised as my brother, okay? He was killed in a car wreck when he was 19. And my mother had a nervous breakdown, and she went into a hospital, Cone Hospital, for 2 months. She's going to love me telling this story. Thank God it's not online. So, go Dixie. And I used to tell y'all stories like this all the time. And she came out, like, she started teaching them activities while she was in there, and came out and got her degree. And went to school with me when I was in college. And we got our degrees together. And she became the recreation director. And I'm going to cry as I tell you this story. In Madison, became the recreation director. And we always sang together. Our band she always ran the family band, but never did I feel closer to her than when she came out of the hospital and went through that experience. And I have it running through my blood, because y'all know I can be pretty crazy girl. It's okay. I'm doing the best I can. We're all doing the best we can, right? So I remember her teaching me this song, and it's it sounds like a love song, but I sing it as a love song to God. Okay? So sing with me as you sing it, as you hear it today. It's called Nearness of You. It's not the pale moon that excites me, that thrills and lights me. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. It's not your sweet conversation that brings this sensation. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. When you're in my arms and I feel you so close to me, that all my wildest dreams, they all come true. I need no soft lights to enchant me, if you'll only grant me the right to hold you ever so tight, and to feel in the night the nearness of you. Go ahead, guys. Let's entertain our crowd. and I feel you so close to me. All my wildest dreams, they all come true. I need no soft lights to enchant me if you'll only grant me the right to hold you ever so tight and to feel in the night the nearness of you. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Pat. I love y'all. You did that to me. You made me tell the truth. Thanks, guys. Y'all are awesome.
Benediction, that's something from way back. All right, I don't plan these things. I'm just like, okay. All right, so put your hand on your heart. Bless yourself as you hear this final prayer. The light of God surrounds you, and you are the light of God. The love of God enfolds you, and you are the love of God. The power of God protects you, and you are the power of God. The presence of God watches over you, and you are the very presence of God. Wherever you are, God is. And affirm with me, all is well. Amen.
It's okay, we'll sing it without music. Everybody stand up. And words, we'll miss it without the, you know it by now. Hey. And let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family whole are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Prayer for protection. Surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The presence of God watches over us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever it is, God is. All is well. Can you believe we've been doing this 25